Hello everyone, today is February 24th, 2026. This is a date we will never ever forget. It will be remembered by many generations because exactly 4 years ago, the full-scale invasion of the Russian horde on our territory into Ukraine began. In 4 years, all masks have been dropped. No one hides behind minors or anything anymore. No more hiding behind so-called defenders of the Russian world. This is a real war. There are no more little green men, just full-fledged insignias and plenty of them. And honestly, I just want to talk and sum up some results. The results of 4 years of full-scale invasion. This video won't be simple or short, so we'll just talk. I want to warn everyone right away that this video will mostly contain information for us, Ukrainians, my thoughts on what's happening and probably what awaits us. I recently made a video about the Russian Federation called Thoughts of an Apostle. We can repeat it. Spielberg appears and disappears somewhere here. In today's video, there won't be any super victories, but there will be some important topics that shouldn't be forgotten. And throughout, it's just documenting some events that interest me and I'm recording for myself. Let's go. There will be a small insert now. This is the reaction of a Zid Patriot. You've definitely seen it, but it's something to remember.
Что жило за пару дней?
Катастрофе ВСУ в районе Киева.
Осталось буквально несколько дней. Как вы знаете, танки на подходе к Киеву.
There are already tanks in Kiev. They're talking about burned cotton, about victories. Under the Verkhovna Rada, we'll see little green men, but maybe in half an hour. There's still a whole day ahead. Yes, I think the process is ongoing. Tanks are already near Kiev. The 3rd, 5th, at most, the 8th of March in Lodz. The clearing of Kharkiv will be completed tomorrow. Next week, military actions will end. Everything will be decided in the next 2 or 3 days. Odessa region, it's no longer.
The cut was made by the channel Beat, and the theme is called Kiev in 3 days, in a week, in 2, in 3, and so on. Our partners didn't believe us either, and announced and predicted a quick fall. In the dry residue of 4 years, what do we see? That the front stands undoubtedly at the cost of our heroes and defenders' lives. It stands, there were no collapses or breakthroughs. Moreover, we also made various attempts to advance. In 3 years of war, Russia captured 1%, 1% of the territory. 1% of the territories. It cost them, I think, 1,600 minus 200 minus 300. Isn't that wonderful? By the way, from the interesting things, my thoughts of an apostle, I started recording them when there was another attempt to break into Vovchansk, Kharkiv region, and nothing worked there either. When all our public pages were constantly writing, Kharkiv will fall. On May 16th, 2024, the first Thoughts of an Apostle came out, and thank you for responding positively to them. There's a picture here. That was a trial run, so to speak. That's why we stood our ground and continue to stand. What I just told you is undoubtedly done, thanks to our heroic defenders, who, at the cost of their health and lives, protect our country and hold the front. What's the main point? It's that we don't have as many resources as Russia. We don't have kilometers of those tanks, armored vehicles, and so on. We are limited in resources, and most importantly, we are limited in people. We don't throw people into local assaults the way the Horde does, with those human wave attacks of 100 at a time. You've seen this more than once in my interviews. A battalion goes in, 300 men, and after 2 days, only 30 wounded come out. We physically don't have that many capabilities. I hope that even if we did, our commanders wouldn't use such practices of local assaults. Our troops and special services are adapting to what is happening. For those who don't know, I keep getting messages saying special services don't fight. They do fight, and unfortunately, Alpha is dying just the same. The police fight, the border guards fight. Guys, don't write nonsense. For those saying the police aren't fighting, well, they are. They fight very hard. The National Guard is fighting. All special services are fighting. And law enforcement agencies are fighting. So if someone tells you that someone isn't fighting, you can just punch them, because that's pure nonsense. We have to use military cunning, adapt, use UAVs, promote new types of weapons, and perform various interesting tricks. An unconventional approach allows us to hold the front, and that's a fact. One example is what happened in the 25th year, when our joint units took part in exercises against NATO troops. And NATO totally failed. We got them, but I can't say those words. I'll read it to you, I'll quote it because it's interesting. Fighters from 412 Nemesis talked about defeating NATO forces in training. Ukrainian media widely cite Wall Street Journal materials about military training in Estonia in May of last year. The publication describes how a small group of Ukrainian UAV crews managed to defeat a contingent of conditional enemy composed of NATO forces in one day. It's just wonderful, wonderful. The Ukrainian team included fighters from unmanned systems units, operators of bombers from the 412th Brigade, and crews from the 427th Brigade RAROC. Ukrainian parties in the exercises also included FPV operators from the International Legion GUR. What's the essence? They shattered NATO forces. Several thousand were virtually killed. Columns were smashed and stopped. This is one example of how our units were able to adapt. We've broken all previous doctrines. The rules of warfare and the tactics have completely changed. And this often helps us win. That's how it is. What was written in Soviet books? What needs to be done on the battlefield? None of it works. And these lost NATO exercises showed that NATO is not ready. This is what I always say, that Ukraine is now a shield for Europe. Especially since the number of troops in their armies is very small. Now there will be a snippet of previous thoughts that you also like. A few detailed specifics, let's call it that. Estonia has an army of 7,700 people. Latvia 17,250, Austria 16,000 bayonets, Slovenia 7,300, Moldova. This is, so you understand, the guys from the neighborhood would dismantle Slovenia's army in 15 minutes and wouldn't even take off their caps. 8,500 Croatia, 14,325 Bosnia, 12,770 Albania, 6,600. All you need to know about the defense forces of the European Union. Black and white inserts if you're interested in me analyzing the history of those exercises and how NATO lost to our pilots. Comment that you want to hear about the exercises. And I'll record my thoughts because I've known this story since 2025. But I understand that people didn't know how NATO lost to Ukraine mercilessly. I think you react about the same as I do when you read in the morning that some oil refinery in Ilyinsky or somewhere in Udmurtia or elsewhere, some movement, some event is happening. For us, it's routine. We just scroll on because strikes deep in the rear of the Russian Federation have become commonplace for us. Yet no one could even imagine this in 2022. That one day so Ukraine would be able to dismantle critical infrastructure of various oil and gas processing complexes 1,000 kilometers away. Using, homemade planes made of cardboard and foam that we make and that bring entire factories to their knees. Well, you have to agree with that. Nowadays, news about some oil refinery burning down, this is routine, as brushing your teeth in the morning. And that's wonderful. It's adaptation. It's adaptation and the best sanctions we can impose. Intelligence, security service, and other agencies are better sanctions than those from our partners, like chasing the shadow fleet. Sanctions like these work when they have no fuel. That's good. What's the point? The point is, we are changing the rules of warfare. And that's a fact. We use homemade equipment, homemade strike drone systems to inflict billions of dollars in damage. It's also worth noting this cool trend. In 2022, 2023, 2024, partners supplied us with almost everything. And I mean absolutely everything. They provided us with any equipment and weapons. Now they are lining up to gain access to our technologies. And as Zelensky recently showed, the opening of a factory in Germany, that's a fact too. Because our technologies are tested not in ideal ranges under perfect conditions, but on the battlefield, with electronic warfare, jamming, snow, and real operators. Our technologies are now in demand, worldwide, our technologies. And that's cool. If before we were entirely dependent on partners, now we can support ourselves. And that's wonderful. I personally know some people who are involved in making armored vehicles. And that's cool. I've been to their factories and production sites. Drop me a comment too. If you're interested, I can do a review. I know how they turn regular Toyotas, old models, even ones from the junkyard, into fully functional armored vehicles used in battle. And it's fast and efficient, and most importantly, it's localized here. Right here in Ukraine. We are not dependent on some guy from Germany who is still talking about some Taurus missiles. Black and white insert. For those who don't know, Ukraine is a leader in the production of marine drones, Magers and others, Maluks, Sea Baby, various FPV complexes, various hybrid stories, where a marine drone swims. Then they fly out and then everything takes off. There are these films. I know, I've seen, examined them live, tinkered with them. We are leaders in the production of modern weapon systems. The black and white insert is over. Army reforms. It's right and cool. The only thing I don't like is that it's often slow. Replacing the minister with Fedorov, I see that as positive. That's right, in my opinion. The creation of drone system forces is a cool concept, and Magyar is really brilliant here. Switching to the core structure, managing core, is much easier. Yes, currently there's a tough alignment of units, reformatting is happening. This takes time, but we got there. To my regret, it's a shame it took so long, but it's right and it's cool. I talked to different units with commanders of corps and brigades, and overall everyone sees this as a positive change. The ability for officers on the ground to make decisions without lengthy approvals from higher-ups is a definite plus. I know that this capability has been handed over to the tactical level. Decisions are made even at the level of junior officers or battalion level. Many might say it's all nonsense. No, it's not nonsense, it's all good. Because a war from Kiev is a war on maps. Delta. It's a mega cool thing. A mega cool thing. It's the envy of all NATO forces. It's the envy of all partners. They definitely want to have something like this themselves. I might sell it to them for many billions of US dollars. Delta is something that allows our military to engage in real warfare as shown in movies. The Russians don't have this. They have. I'm making an announcement. When the current campaign ends, I will release unique footage that you've never seen before. It's a clear story about the Delta analog in Russia. The feedback of live senior officers without a drill, with swearing. There will be a whole series of videos. Yes, my program works. I pay for information or help officers and soldiers of the Russian army survive. You write to me and I make sure our FPVI don't target you and you're fine. If you have connection problems, I'll set you up. Russians, what's with your face? That's usually how I address Russians who can't comment on anything. I'm talking about politics. Politically, we were promised the end of democracy, the deprivation of all rights and freedoms. But I believe there are quite a lot of these rights and freedoms. There's no impunity for posting about strikes, for sharing important, sensitive information. Too many of these rights and freedoms, the attempt to break the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine led to people coming out, and things happened as they wanted. So I ask, Russians, what's with the face? Yes, it's bleeped here, but it's a fact. If there is maximum totalitarianism in Russia, tightening of screws, disconnection of the internet, VPNs, messengers, full censorship, we don't have that. Yes, right here, these lovers of theories of betrayal, defeat and negativity, write in the comments, I love reading you. By the way, I read almost all the thoughts, all the comments under the Apostles' thoughts. I like a lot, I put hearts. Only the author can put hearts. Maybe that's me. That is, channel administrators can't put hearts. Why don't you ever record thoughts about the internal political state situation? I don't know how to say it correctly, because I say from the first thoughts that we can't be defeated militarily, we can be split from within. So getting into whining about betrayal and telling stories, blogging about corruption, I could do that, but I just don't have the time. I am engaged in my program practically 24/7. But corruption certainly exists. I know it, I talk about it. Rarely, but I do. And those loud searches, various Midos, Mindiches, I don't even get into it. I just don't have time to read it. But I support any arrests. I really believe that during the war, bail shouldn't be posted for corruption. It's long overdue to amend the Criminal Procedure Code. Yes, there may be abuses. But Russians, what's up with you again? He's not diamond to you. That's about myself because I'm the apostle. They posted about his stories, and what about you? Did anything come out of it? He's still in the Security Council just like before. But that's what sets us apart. That's what sets us apart from the Russians. The fact that we didn't like the story with the Anti-Corruption Bureau, so we took to the streets. Yes, I support the tough work of law enforcement against corruption. I support it very strongly. But I'm interested in real convictions. They came, arrested, then over 20 sessions reduced the bail from 100 million to 3 with 50 million seized. And then this case will be dragged through courts and investigations for 35,000 years. No, I'm interested in real sentences. Until people are actually imprisoned. Not just given preventive measures, but really given 10 years with confiscation. Then it's a different story. And to put someone in detention, then change it to house arrest after 6 months, come on. I don't comment and won't comment until the end of the war. I don't want to. No time. During this time, I'd rather save our information and kill orcs. That's a more effective topic. Maybe someday the program Money from the Apostle. will turn into money from the apostle for Ukrainians, where I'll accept information from us about corruption, about some law enforcement block. But that's for some other time. For now, please don't write to me. I don't deal with that. I'm not law enforcement. You all have the opportunity to go and file a complaint somewhere with the State Bureau of Investigations, the Security Service, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, or the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office. There are basically hundreds of thousands of these agencies. I simply don't need this information at this stage. Regarding traitors, if you know that a certain major colonel or private is working for the Russians, write to me and everything will be sorted. I guarantee you that. People flooded the comments under my video with "we can repeat and talk about signs of fascism." There were 13 signs, maybe now a few snippets will be inserted. So, I'd like to ask one simple question. Do you know the difference between an aggressive totalitarian fascist state and a regular normal state? Well, let me tell you. The difference is that our President Zelensky is trying to resolve this war through various diplomatic means. He always advocates for a ceasefire, supports elections, the signing of agreements and security guarantees so that everything doesn't start again in 2 years when Russia has healed its wounds. It's not Putin proposing this, it's Zelensky. And it's as if Putin doesn't see any of this. For those who don't understand, Putin is the one everyone is bowing to and pretending to have talked with. We haven't heard a single constructive proposal. Not a single constructive idea has been voiced. It's just empty words. I was saying that what is currently happening and being done in the negotiation tracks more is fiction. Because Russia doesn't want peace treaties. They don't need an end to the war because after the war ends, they'll have a huge problem. The biggest problem. When all these scum go back to the rear. And that's a fact. We, Ukraine, want peace. Just leave our territory. But they don't hear this over there. So comparing Ukraine to Nazi or fascist history, this we can repeat talk has been going on for 4 years now, and you keep repeating it. You've been sucking for 4 years. And quite profoundly and thoroughly. Do you understand? Don't write about things that don't exist. I can tell bots from real people, but when someone says we also have fascism, well, that's nonsense, that's rubbish. That's not how it is. One must be able to differentiate. Moreover, even if we take this sensitive topic of religion for me, I'll probably record a video, by the way, right about it. You wrote, record a final one. Regarding religion, even according to the Quran, the one who is in a state of oppression is always right. Always right. As long as we are defending against the occupiers, we are right. And we don't need to justify our actions. It's a complex topic, complex thoughts. You asked to record something for the 24th. Diplomacy in our country has reached a new level with the onset of the full-scale invasion. It's a fact. That's not even up for discussion. The fact that Ukraine hasn't been forgotten, that the war is known everywhere, is all thanks to our diplomats and attachés. And various other people who are involved in the international agenda, the international track. Negotiation groups, it's all the merit of our diplomacy. Zelensky practically lives in a plane. I've traveled a lot myself, and over 4 years I've covered nearly 300,000, more than 300,000 kilometers. So, you understand, our planes don't fly. And any trip abroad, that used to take 2 to 3 hours. Now takes at least 1.5 days, minimum 1.5 days. Therefore, the thesis that you will be forgotten in 2 days can only be said by incompetent monkeys. The thesis that everything could have ended in Istanbul in 1922 I've delved into this topic, the thoughts of the apostle. There's a nanotechnological insert here somewhere. Spielberg is nervously smoking. Signing a capitulation in the early days of the war means the end. It's the end for everything. The end of diplomacy, the end of everything. We didn't do it. The military refused back then, because it was pure capitulation. Maybe there will be a short insert now. Some final part. What happened in April? Right, I'll remind you now. On April 2nd, it was announced that the Kyiv and Chernihiv regions were completely cleared of this Russian filth. On April 4th, the land of Sumy was cleansed of this plague. In those same days, the world learns of a tragedy, specifically what the terrorists did in Bucha. On April 14th, the Russian warship Moskva goes underwater, and then on April 15th, this hypothetical thing happens. Let's sign this document, where the army is reduced to 85,000 people and 342 tanks. That's it. Curtain down at this point, one might say. But we continue. In fact, if we had signed it, we would have disarmed. Then in a year or two, perhaps in 2024, columns would already be standing on the border with the same Poland. Who do you think would be part of these columns? There's a clear example. You can look into it, listen to interviews with residents of the so-called DNR, LNR. You understand what it's about? March 30th. No negotiations, no peace treaty. And 16 days later, on April 15th, we sign a capitulation. So everything is not as straightforward as it's being said. That's gay propaganda. I apologize for such an amount of obscene language. Fatigue takes its toll, and I'm somewhat out of resources. You can choose words, but for that you would need to write a text, write a script, run a teleprompter. And I have neither the first, nor the second, nor the third. Therefore, we move on. The 21st century has shown that the modern world understands only the language of power. Can one even say that? I don't know. I'm a peasant. What can you expect from me? Only the strong are spoken to, only the strong are considered. We, as a country, Ukraine, have shown that we are strong. Aside from what I listed earlier, I want to highlight the movement of volunteering. Never before has there been this many volunteers or this much volunteer activity. Since the first days of the war, and still we are closing fundraisers, and we do it constantly and regularly. I am also subscribed to automatic payments to the same Rusaras. It's a normal thing, all right. Some people are subscribed to my Gather the Orc jar. All the money goes to paying bonuses to our defenders for replenishing the exchange fund. Volunteers have shown that this is the same kind of force. We collect money, we deliver, and it actually gets to the front. I can simply tell you how it happens with the Z idiots, who in fact can't even raise funds for underwear, for black bags. For them, it's over. People have completely stopped donating, and everyone is saying the same thing. Why the heck do we need this? We don't need this war. We didn't start it. Because the Kyiv in 3 days plan stretched out over 4 years, and the endless meat grinder. An incredible number of soldiers write to me with one question. Get me out of here. I want to be in your unit. Take me captive. To everyone, I want to say I don't have some invisible helicopter to fly to Mariupol or Donetsk, pick you up, dress you in an invisibility cloak, and bring you here. No, it doesn't work like that. If you want to join us and wrote to me, then roughly speaking, you need to earn it for our military to bring you out. So, respect and kudos to the volunteers. Respect and kudos to everyone helping the front. I always say the same thing. When you run out of wise thoughts, just pick up your phone and make a donation. I never recommend to whom to donate. If someone asks whom to donate to without getting scammed, it means they don't want to donate. We all have acquaintances who are fighting. Call up your friend and ask, what do you need? He'll say, it's cold. Send me 100 chemical hand warmers. Boots? That's it. Bought it, sent it, new post, off it goes, it works. We can't be defeated militarily, but we can be divided from within. My thesis should be printed somewhere, like on a t-shirt or something. There's not a single electrical substation in Ukraine that hasn't been hit. The bastards spend an unreal amount of missiles and drones, an unreal amount of money to pressure us morally, so that we would split from within. I'm still amazed by idiots who write that we're selling electricity somewhere. You're just hopeless. I don't get why the SBU hasn't paid a visit to these energy freaks yet. I really don't get it. They're trying to suppress us morally. The energy situation is critical. That's a fact. Everyone must acknowledge it. It's critical. Oh, but we live on. And that's also our strength. Surviving the cold. Well, okay. Only one Saturday. Until spring. As people in not so distant places say. We've survived the toughest winter possible. Look at this Belgorod and how they suffer and cry. Oh dear, Belgorod People's Republic, the capital. Gladkov is walking around pale like he's going to faint. I'm starting to troll because the thoughts are so serious. I realized he likes my rural style, all this made up, unclear slang of mine. Alright, let's move on. Need to wrap up, my back already hurts. I want to address everyone. I recently recorded a video about arrivals. I explained it clearly, and it was well received. If you haven't seen it, some nanotechnology thing will appear here. I ask people not to be hopelessly useful idiots. Stop engaging in nonsense like, we'll go to a rally because we haven't had electricity for 3 days. Guys, that's not how it works. Do you think Zelensky picks up the phone, has a button to turn off Troyeshina, and then gets busy and forgets to press turn on Troyeshina? The Troyeshina guys wrote in the comments, are they watching or not? Because I have a Troyeshina citizen passport, for those unaware. So, guys, Seryoga wrote a comment, I know you're from Troyeshina, didn't do a cardiogram for me, by the way. You saw the sponsor found a t-shirt, well, this thing. Don't be useful, idiots. Don't go to these pseudo-rallies, organized by Russians to later spin this on their damn channels. Don't participate in this. SBU, where are you? Hello, National Police. Arrest people, fine people. Do you really think if there was an opportunity to turn on the lights, they wouldn't give you the light? Electricity. There's no light, and with light, all I can do is make a call through the decision makers, God willing. Don't be useful idiots. This is an appeal to everyone. So I was sitting there thinking how to end it, and now I'll wrap it up, and conclusions will be in black and white in the format you probably like the most. Let's go, just like that. And the picture turned black and white in one frame. Spielberg nervously smokes. Conclusions. Conclusions of 4 years of war. The video turned out mainly positive, but that doesn't mean that I don't have negative information. I am well aware of the military fools who sit and don't understand what they're doing and still sit in their chairs. I'm talking about ours. I am well aware of the paper generals, more about idiots who are just idiots. They sit in Kyiv, mess around and tell stories. Of course I know that. But why did I record the video in a positive format? Because we deserve it. 4 years of harsh bloody war, which affected everyone. I think there are very few people who haven't lost someone. I have a lot of people in my contacts. They have been hurt, they've died. I want our people to start thinking and not slow down. Thinking that's all the same. Useful idiots who help knowingly or unknowingly. Why not slow down? Because respect to the volunteers, but no respect to the military and to everyone involved. The fact is, a day has passed, we stood our ground, which means everything is being done right. I want to see the corrupt behind bars. It's a sensitive issue, I have a lot of information, but now is not the time. And you might ask, why do you keep it? Because everything is going as I described in the video about the grinding down of the Russian army. And that's a fact. We, Ukrainians, have shown the world who we are. We showed what we are fighting for. And we showed the world who we are fighting against. Thousands of interviews have revealed the essence. The essence of their views, life principles, various life stories. This part of the work has also been done. Therefore, our military are awesome. Our guys, what I call the brainiacs, are awesome too. These are smart people who come up with all sorts of military inventions. The brainiacs, you know, those with soldering irons, oscilloscopes, making our own weapons, that's cool. Our special services are working. SPU, please lock up the collaborators. And I ask you not to fall for information psychological operations, bastards. It's very easy now to distinguish it from sponsored content and real stories. So let's be Ukrainians, help the army, and believe in the victory of the armed forces of Ukraine, the AFU. Glory to Ukraine.